Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet tonight and pay my respects to elders both past and present. I'd also like to welcome everyone here tonight, our students, staff, all our friends of the faculty and friends from the professions. But I'd particularly like to welcome our special guests tonight, Eva and Ricardo. Eva and Ricardo are from the architectural practice Flores Prats in Barcelona. I also should say that I'm welcoming them back because they first taught here in 2004, and I spent the evening last night poring over the book from that studio, which is fantastic, I have to say. I loved it. The Office of Ricardo and Eva is dedicated to the intersection of theory and academic practice with the design and construction activity of professional practice. They've worked on the adaptive reuse of many old structures for new occupation, the design of public spaces with neighbourhood participation, as well as social housing with the capacity to create communities. Their work has been recognised through many awards, including the Grand Award in Architecture at the Royal Academy of Arts in London for their Mills Museum in Mallorca, the City of Barcelona Award, the Special Mention for the Spanish National Awards for the Sala Beckett International Drama Centre, and the City of Palma Award for the Cultural Centre, Casal Balaguer. They've been nominated for 3 Mies van der Rohe Awards and have exhibited at the Venice Biennale since 2012. They had a significant presence in the 2018 Venice Biennale with an installation in the Arsenale as well as their Vatican Chapel in the Vatican Gardens. From my perspective, their installation in the Arsenale documenting the transformative design process they undertook to craft an abandoned building into the new Sala Beckett Theatre and Drama Centre was one of the most captivating and memorable exhibitions in 2018. And so we're fortunate enough to be able to hear about more of this project shortly. Eva and Ricardo are professors of design studios at Utzon, the School of Architecture at Barcelona, and RMIT at Barcelona, and have directed design workshops in universities in the US, South America, Europe, and of course Australia. Most recently, they've been appointed as professors and co-chairs of architecture at ETH in Zurich, an appointment they will take up and share in 2019. They've contributed to numerous publications, including a book on their work, Thought by Hand, The Architecture of Flores Prats in 2014. And now Eva and Ricardo are here at UNSW as visiting professors working with John Jacka on our summer intensive interdisciplinary studio, Sydney Urban Lab. Sydney Urban Lab is designed to give our students the opportunity to work with internationally acclaimed architects like Eva and Ricardo to explore Sydney's urban condition. Along with 50 students, their studio has explored the urban corridor between Sydenham and Marrickville stations. And the studio is examining how we might increase residential density in this area while still valuing and accommodating its built and social heritage and the rich varieties of cultures that coexist locally. I can think of few architects better to teach the students the power of observation, drawing, and learning from what exists to design in and with context. Please join me in welcoming Ricardo Flores and Eva Prats to present tonight's Utzon lecture titled The Discipline of the Existing.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Helen. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. We are very pleased to be back in Sydney, where it's like you always are welcoming us very nicely. It's like having a family around, so it's very nice to come, this possibility to come regularly. And the studio is a really intense studio. Some of the students will be here tonight. I don't know if or they are still working on the models. But we are enjoying very much. We are getting familiar with Marrickville by drawing it and by visiting. So we are having a very nice time. Thanks, Helen.
It's the video that you just saw when you arrived. That was we were running. It was a video. It was 2 screens, and it was recorded by some friends of us in Barcelona, filmmakers, young filmmakers. It was recorded because of the launching of the book that Helen just mentioned, Thought by Hand, because it's a book that records the process of working in our office. And then this, when the editor wanted a short video to show it, to display and in the launching, they thought that the best thing would be to to see how we work in the office. So they connected these two webcams into our chest with this thing, kind of a belt, and we were moving around the office for 5 days, registering everything that was going on, like drawing the models, moving around the different rooms, which at the beginning you are very, very conscious of that, and you behave well, and then you say proper, you speak, depends, some things you don't say and so on, and as time passes the next day and the next, you start to forget, so you start to speak. So there's a lot of records of things, very interesting there. Many hours of record that are online. So it was very, very, very interesting to get into that. No? So the office in Barcelona is this office that now we have for 20 years and have been accumulating material. It's a house, it's a family house, it's an apartment in the grid of Barcelona, and it's been accumulating work and books and presents from friends and things that we collect, also family gifts that nobody wants and they give it to you. All these things that accumulate on the walls. So the walls start to be have layers of time and things that go on top of others. Also the wardrobes of the house, which is a very beautiful house, start to collect things from projects that are on process on the doors as well. And sometimes we build, when the project ends, these containers to collect all the models that have been the process into the wardrobes that come into these containers, and they close and they move with wheels around the office, so we can park them away and move them from the middle of where they are. So the flat is very long, passing from facade to courtyard. A very beautiful pavements and ceilings with roses, and the pavements are very special in the grid in Barcelona because they are carpets that go in each room differently. They have very beautiful patterns. The patterns are different from the center to the edges and then to the side. They are beautifully designed, and they are very common. It's a very common thing done at the beginning of the 20th century, turn to the 19th to 20th century. It's something that was very commonly developed for many, many houses and many buildings in town. So it's something that we got used to see. Also the doors and the windows. The doors are very beautiful and also very simple at the same time. All of them different. Is the same house, the same builder, but all of the doors are different. You don't know why. Maybe the carpenter was different mood every day, so he was saying, "Okay, today I do it like that with the glass. The next day I'm a bad mood, so I do it block, etc." So you don't. But it's very nice the way they keep the light and how sometimes you have these windows to illuminate and to ventilate while you close. So it's a very delicate building, even if it's so common at the same time. So we got used to that. We didn't modify the building, the apartment at all. We've been just adding layers. This is the former kitchen of the house, which is like our workshop for models, our kitchen in a way, where everything is tested. And we work on models as a testing thing. We are fragments normally, which are changed constantly, depends on how the project evolves. So we have this place with the tools and the tests. This is the moment where the Sala Beckett project, which Helen was mentioning before, was in the competition. The Sala Beckett project was a competition to put a company, the drama school, into a building that was abandoned. The building is this one that you see over there. It's a former workers' cooperative that was abandoned in a certain part of the city. But Sala Beckett had been working for many years before this. So they, in a certain moment in time, they had to change place. They were taken away from where they were, and they had to move headquarters. So they asked the municipality for a place. The municipality had this workers' cooperative, and then they did a competition that when we won, we had to present, this is the board. All these people are very well-known playwrights in Barcelona, but in Spain as well, and they are very prestigious. And still, it's very interesting how they were connecting immediately with the project, with the models. This condition of working with models allowed us to have a very fast connection with them. This is the director, Tony Casares, which is leading Sala Beckett under Samuel Beckett, who gave the name to the place. When they have been already working for 10 years, they asked Samuel Beckett to give the name. He accepted. He was living in Paris still. And then because the kind of theater they make is this theater of the speech without scenography, and they write theater. So he was the one who convincing the municipality to find a place for them. Sala Beckett is here. Our office, what you saw before, is here. We are in the middle, in between the old town and the grid. This is, if you know Barcelona, this is the sea, and this is Poblenou, which is a former industrial neighborhood, which used to have industries and cooperatives for the workers spending time there. So this is Peraquart, which is an old road coming out of town. Is before the grid, is previous to the grid. So that's why it's inclined and it's taking its way up to France, let's say. So the building was here in a corner, the cooperative. It's a very simple building, very clear in structure. Typologically, you can see that comes very much from the industries that are around, because they have these naves, 2 naves of 11 meters without pillars, with these trusses, and then a central passage, let's say, of 5.5 meters. So, and it was very wide and also very, very generous in heights. The heights were 5-6 meters. So it was very place already prepared for other activities besides the cooperative. The cooperative bankrupt in 1980s and it closed. So the building was abandoned and will have been having different uses and also have been decayed. It have been having water, rain coming, and they have been having some uses in the ground floor as well. So it was quite in a decadent state, but still there.
The building haven't been always like you have seen it. Before, when it was built in 1924, it had this front here on the top. It was kind of signal of the front door, and it was the workers organized a space to buy things buy food in a better price in the ground floor, and then organize a leisure time above. There was a bar and a theater. And so the section of the building where Ricardo was explaining is this simple thing. But the interesting thing is that the ground floor was independent from the first floor. Here was leisure, and here was buying. And the staircase coming from the first floor was straight from the street up. It was a great space. It was in the 20s, so hard moments, and the workers are able to organize themselves to build such a generous building. This is the bar upstairs with all the billiards, with 6 meters high, and the grocery store was great, as you can see. Piles of food around it. The same tiles like in our studio, with light, windows, with all the good things around. Very nice, a kind of a market, organized a little bit. But this is how we found this beautiful building. We found it like this when we entered it. It had been the ground floor had been a gym that didn't last, but they have covered all the walls with mirrors. It was blocked. The natural light was not getting in. And even the pillars that we saw very thin were inside one of these. Plastic floors, they changed everything. This is the middle part, the vestibule with the old stairs used to be, going to a mezzanine level. So also with the years, the building had been adding minimum levels, the kind of Roman swimming pool they have. So it was no clue of the former cooperative, only there was a staircase, a small staircase coming up. And the first floor has been left as the years of the workers. This was an old school that was built in the 40s, slightly later, on the back of the building. But you can still see the light, and classrooms can happen here. The theater instead was very, very much destroyed. But it was all this decadence, somehow because of the natural light. We thought that, okay, the whole the only natural light was getting through a hole. So it could be a menace of destruction for the building, when it really was. The rain, pigeons, rats were inside the building. But we thought that this array of light visiting the building, it could be something for us was an sign of optimism, that again, this space could give theater. Also because it was the decadence also was very impressive as a scenography itself. The building was not listed, so the neighbors who were part of the former, of this cooperative could see the building in decay from above. The buildings, if the neighbors were living around, they could see the roof every year with more holes. The theater was the roof that was much worse conditions. This one was the old bar that you saw the photo. The bar was still more okay. And this was a competition, and we were visiting the building with the director of Sala, Beckett, and the other 5 teams. And the director pointed at the walls and said, okay, Sala, Beckett, we dedicate ourselves to writing. We put plays on display for the first time, but we are looking for new writing. So coming here to work for us every day, we will like not having a white piece of paper. So we like the stories around this building. But he said, it's up to you. The building is not listed, and if you think that this is not strong enough or can resist a theater that I want to work with the full conditions of modern conditions, it's up to you to decide what to do with it. But Ricardo and I, we love the building. We love the huge spaces that are not so common to find in Barcelona, and we love all these elements. So when we got the competition, we started drawing. We spent 3 months inside this building, drawing all the elements that we thought will be useful for later as a treasure. Also because still today in Barcelona, you can find containers in the street with new building being renovated, and finding a lot of these doors still out in the street that no one cares for them. So we knew we had to draw it carefully to make the builder understand that this was important for us, that this was our treasure, and we wanted to keep it. We wanted to keep it, but we didn't know where, because all the distribution of the building will change. So these doors will move around, but we have them. Everyone has a number. We have this kind of arsenal of doors and windows. And we were placing them in the model as we were knowing how the building will work again. They also had colors. So we thought also, and in the colors, there were signals of these times, of everyone was talking also about. We noticed the colors were more pastel in the 20s, more light colors. After the Civil War, they get into this dark brown. So it was and also an information that the doors themselves got of the colors of all the signals.
The same thing that happened with the colors and the doors. We started to think that the walls were also a remain that we could bring over to the new project. So we draw all the sides, all the facades of the existing, all the interior facades, to bring them into the model and have something already from the beginning that we wanted to keep. The vestibule, which is what this model shows, is the key part of the project in the sense that it's connecting all the building. Because as Eva, if you remember, Eva said the ground floor is a grocery, in the first floor is a cafe, in the back part is the school for the kids. But now it's only one project. Sala Beckett is all of it. So the vestibule should show how all the building works at once. So the vestibule with these new openings is connecting vertically, is what we wanted is to connect, and with the light and the circulation is the way we were intending to make the students or the people who come in the morning to work and in the afternoon to understand that everything is working connected. So in the ground floor, what happens is that you had this former gym that Eva was explaining, and in the proposal organizes in the corner a public part with a vestibule where you enter, you can collect your tickets, there's a sofa, you go to the toilet maybe, and then you go to the bar. All this part is the vestibule. Bar and vestibule is one thing, and in the other entry, there's another entry for the actors, which go to their place to prepare for the play, and so that's the main exhibition space in the back. So that's the ground floor level, and there's an entry for woods and for the technicians in the lateral side, in the lateral street, for them to have a workshop and all the materials for the play. This is the vestibule, the main exhibition space. The former school for the kids is still school for teaching theater. The mezzanine, which was this kind of in-between space that was already built, we eliminate the most we could to recuperate the original heights, except for one part that was in that part for the authors, for the theater directors, is this little bit over there. They call the Authors Club. It's a place, mainly what they do there is they meet. What happens is that the directors of the play, they don't want to be present in the theater the night of the opening, but they would want to know how it goes. So there's this kind of dilemma. So what happens is that we did this connection to the technician room over there. So they go very slowly and they are behind the technician to see, and they say, oh, look at that, there's the people of the journal, whatever. He will kill me, he will destroy me. So he comes back over there, drinks a scotch, and gets knocked out for the rest of the night. More or less, that's a bit the situation, no? But they are in a bridge between the bar and the main stage. In that part, in this area, though, there's another dressing room for the people who plays upstairs. So we have ground floor dressing rooms and mezzanine dressing room for these people who play up in the former theater. So this connection makes them appear in the former stage, but now there's no stage anymore. Everything goes in the same level because Sala Beckett don't work with stages, and they change constantly the relationship between public and scene, as you can see also here in the ground floor. So the two you can have theater simultaneously in the two rooms, and also in the former cafe. There's a rehearsal room, so you can have sometimes a small place there. So you have the former theater becomes a theater. There's a part of offices against the light. And the most complicated thing, let's say, if you want, of the project is how to connect and bring all the back part connected to the ground floor and to the frontal facade. That was what gave us most work, because we had to make it work continuously so that you didn't realize that you were passing from ground floor, first floor, and to the back, let's say, property, the last nave, without any limit or realizing it. So the courtyard in the middle helps a lot, and the skylight over the staircase as well. So when the building started, as you saw, the building was in very, very bad state. The first thing we had to do is to remove the central floor slab, because also was very, very, very discontinued because of the former bathrooms of the theater, the staircase that was there but also falling down, etc. So the central part, which was the one we were going to change it all, was the first thing to take away. In certain moments, you see that the building is suffering. If it was already a ruin, you are like accelerating the room. You are bringing the ruin forward. You don't know really if the building will support it or not, because it's shaking. It's very violent, as you know. So there were certain moments of tension, of uncertainty, because you don't know how much it will resist. But then all the doors are sent to a storage. All the walls, these lateral walls, are protected with plastics because all those paintings, we like them, even if you don't know if you like them or not. But at the moment, you protect it, and then the builder says, "No, but what are you protecting? This is going to be painted." No, we like it very much. No, how can you like it if this is nothing? It's a ruin. No, we love it. So it was constantly this kind of fight about protecting something that you don't even know if you will like it at the end or not. But at the moment, you protect it. Then you take all the tiles away. The tiles are in our office. The doors also are similar because it's built in the similar moment. So we have drawn all the tiles of all the rooms, with the same as with the doors, roses, etc. in this inventory, to know how many meters we had, how the turns of the corners would work, etc., to reuse them, to know how many of them we had, even counting that many could be broken, but still it was what we had to work with that. So all of the rooms were inventorized and then sent again to a storage. So in a certain moment, all the first floor was empty. We had to reinforce structurally because the building was in a moment that had a lot of, had another norms. So we had to reinforce it, and also acoustically. So these are the moments where you empty it all the tiles are away, the doors are away, everything is away, storage, and then you reinforce. In the meantime, in the ground floor level, destroying the sauna thing, the pool, the beautiful Roman pool, making more space for the new theater, so grounding down, and then demolishing this wall, because one of the conditions of Sala Beckett is that they needed a 15 meters wide Sala space for theater. So we had to put a beam to support one of the walls to make this wider, because they wanted to have this space where they could make different positions of the stage and the public. So for this to happen, you need a minimum of 16 meters, which means 4 meters of public, 7 meters of stage, and 4 meters of public. And that was there was nothing in the building, because if you remember, this was 11, this was 11, and that was 11. So we had to demolish some parts. So the ground floor and in the back was the less historically church, let's say, if you want. So we did that action over there. All this was very interesting to have all the team of Sala Beckett. This is Tony over there and Sergi Belbel, all these directors of Sala Beckett helping us to understand how they would work, how would they like to work. Pauline, the director, the technicians, seeing if the seats would cover the sea of the technician from the window, all these kind of things that you learn, because it was our first theater. We were learning with them how to do it. The good thing is that we didn't have any preconceived idea. We were fresh in the thing, so we were trying to bring all our knowledge from rehabilitation, but not from the theater world. So they knew very much how they wanted to work. So this mix was really key. They were saying us all the time what they wanted and what they would not, and we were saying what we wanted for the building to be. The models later go to the site, so these models helped us to say where the conditioning and all the supplies would be, all the mechanical installations would be. So the models is something that we use from the initial stages to the construction site. It serves in different stages differently. So this is the ground floor place, which because it's a new one, they wanted to paint it in black. It's the only piece in black in the whole building. Whilst in the upper level, the theater was kept mainly as it was. But you see the floor is not the same. The floor is not the tiles. They wanted wood for the theater spaces. And that's why we could have some tiles to use somewhere else. There were several layers besides the acoustic to put the wood. And it was a very well designed wood layer with our advisors, and also the former cafe, the rehearsal room. So all those tiles that were here before, now they are not here anymore, and we could use them for different places that we had no tiles. This is the former theater, this is the former cafe, the school. So you see in the vestibule takes the tiles of the former cafe, the new vestibule, and some of the tiles of the school, because the school also has 2 rooms with wooden floor, which is the green one. You could bring some yellow tiles forward to welcome you. And some of the tiles of this space, the theater, went to the ground floor level, because, as you know, there was nothing there. So all the tiling of the welcoming part of the vestibule and the bar, etc., was carefully done with the upper tiles of the upper level, and trying to emphasize this circulation around the kitchen and bar. So everyone moves. This central part is very important for the vestibule, for expanding the vestibule to the street. So we had all these tests also to know how the tiles could curve, because we've been doing some of the curves, and these tiles are not prepared for curving, because they are only designed for being laid out orthogonal to the floor. So we were worried about how this flower would continue or not. So we were making all these tests before going to the site and telling the builder, yes, you can You can cut it and make the curve, cut so many as the little thing. So he was delighted, of course, of doing that kind of work. But okay, it was in the project. So this happened also all around the first floor as well. So the laying of the vestibule downstairs and upstairs is very continuous because in a way is, as I said, the one that wants to hold you all the way up. This drawing is explaining ground floor and first floor, and as you see, the pavement as it goes into the back, but also is showing the lateral facades because the benches and the holes in the walls are also continuous in plan and in section. So those drawings for us are very important to try to control or explore all what we want for the same space. So finally, yeah, you see the pavement is not located exactly as it was originally. It's a bit moved in stripes because it's a corridor place. The yellow ones over there are coming to welcome you from the children's area. Some of them returned, of course, broken, but they were located continuous. There was the ones that were hold. We told the builder, well, look, if you broke them, cut half of this and cut half of that one, and you make one out of two ones, which again he was delighted to do. And this was the kind of discussions and fights on the everyday. So because it was very, very low budget and we had to use everything we had, also because we wanted, we valued it. So also the doors were waiting there for being relocated and refurbished. They had very good carpenters, fortunately, which were extending, modifying, adapting everything. Every door was useful. Nothing was going to be thrown away. So fortunately, they knew how to work with this wood and with this kind of moldings and that. Some of the windows went downstairs, as Eva said in the video, and they were extended to make a bigger window because the space was much grander than when originally was. I think that window is 2 meters high, the original one. So that means that the space is huge. You think a 2 meters window is huge, but in the space, it was still small. So you had to adapt and make it bigger and so on. So all the things of making new and all work together was probably the most interesting, and also was discovering with the working. No?
There was a moment that almost all the doors were on place, and the floor slab has raised up, the tiles were again on the building, and we started looking how much building we still had, because the construction, new foundations, excavation, we were really afraid. We didn't know how many of these walls will resist, just 15 centimeters width. So we started thinking, at this moment, the builder was asking us what about the colors? What about the painting again? We thought that maybe we should need some painting, but we didn't know yet how to apply to these walls because there was a lot of information in the walls. There were all these traces, and we didn't want to detach the new operations with the existing ones. Little by little, we decided that the new pieces, like this cabin, that it's a double door to get into the theater upstairs, will be painted with different, like an horizontal stripe, like the one that we found there, so that nothing will be painted just in one color. And the colors will be decided for the floor tiles or maybe a door. This is the wall upstairs and downstairs of the vestibule. The red from the old door gets applied into the bench, and all this new big door piece is quite big. It's the entrance of the theater, and we wanted to make it quite a red theater thing. So, but you see the traces are all over. We had to reinforce this arch that was already there existing on the ground floor, this one. So we were thinking how much we apply. The way to have a measure for it was to take pictures on site of every scene and how the construction was at that moment and paint on top of them. And with these scenes, we were hanging them on the wall, and the painter was following the instructions from them. So every room by room, we were painting, and even a room that had a lot of, like the dressing room had a lot of walls that were new, but we thought the rhythm of information for your eye all along the building should keep being the same, never be detached from what was there already and what we have been doing new. So here is again the tiles that we brought from above, down here, that makes the dressing room. In the bar, it was the same, looking from some tiles that were left on the walls and painting them. But the information is very similar when you move around the building. Here are traces of everything, even a small fire that once was in the building. The green tiles that appear behind the gym walls, and that they are from the 60s. So the workers' cooperative tried to modernize in the 60s and change some of the material. All is here with the 60s, the tiles from the 20s on the floor, accidents, also marks of the construction, like the new beam that we have to reinforce on there. So at the end, we had to put all this information together. We have been working by scene, so we had these long sections that we put the codes of the colors we have been using, and we draw it all together. So you see some walls haven't been touched, so there's no information, but in the pieces that we have been applying, the fragmented pieces that we have been applying color, you can find the color there in case they need to repaint it. So in the middle of the building is what somehow the intervention gets more intense, and it's where the natural light gets through and connects these two levels. So as soon as you step into this building, now that it's finished, just 2 steps, and you see something is going upstairs. Because Sala Beckett is not only theater at night, it's all the day, I think, happening. They start at 10 in the morning and until 12 at night. So this vestibule is working with natural light. And you have this connection with the first floor. Also because it's something that the director was very keen on, mixing the creativity or the fabrication and the exhibition much more, making a building that you can cross and go from the more public areas of the street until the back of it where the classes are in a very easy way, very intuitive. So somehow these interventions rely a lot. We made this drawing at the end, all the circulation and the activation of the building relies on this wall, one of the walls of the vestibule, but we cross it different times. We cross it in the bar, we cross it later with the staircase. These holes also show it, and then you go up till the end of the vestibule of the classes. It's this in plan. This was the exercise. No? We had to come, because before the class, all the classes at the back were independent. They were all coming up. The students will come up from the old staircase. But now we wanted all work as one building from the entrance. So this is the first floor, and this is how we move backwards till the end for the lessons. The way that the pavement is placed also corresponds to these long lines, so that you walk here and you cross it and you cross and you appear at the more private area of the building. The model shows it very well, how much things rely on them, even the bar, the counter of the bar downstairs, the holes. It's like you move around this wall and you go through all the building. Also, it shows the double high. So the high of these 15 centimeters coming very, very above. You can see it through it. So the walls also sometimes become very detached almost detached from the building. And it's very, very thin. And you can see people moving from one side to the other. And here you cross it again to go to the classes. And the patio that we enlarge, it's an extension of people meeting outside. It's a place that they rehearse sometimes, what they have to do. They feel very comfortable. And this long view, you can see it from this space, you can see it from here. So this wall at the end also became, we read it a little bit like in a scenario, as part of a scenography that was making people working in Sala Beckett appear and disappear very easily. When you come up, also you see this kind of cloud up there. There is a skylight. This skylight, we open it. We open it to get the light from the other side of the wall. We were testing it in the model, seeing how much we can get the light from the other side, and we'll get into here. It's this one that's being built. So it's a break that we made. This is the first, it was like the first scenography we prepared. This is the form, the wood that will be used to make this half dome that we wanted to build here against this wall again. This is the cut that will let the light get through it. This cut, that is this one, we wanted to be a whole circle, but we have a truss here, so we had to be happy with just half moon. And the light comes from here, as you see, and makes this atmosphere in the vestibule, but also it's above of it, so there is more intense moment in the building, but above of it is part of the machines of the air conditioning for the big theater rooms. So this is something that you are concerned with the building and how fragile it is, but there are moments that you break it even more. So you think, okay, what I'm doing, because we are cutting it, but somehow we were thinking that it was the right to heritage, or to really occupy things, these old buildings. When they get to you, if you don't adapt it, and sometimes you don't act with violence into it, you don't get something that at the end will work. Like having this natural light right in the middle of the building. So somehow like this ray of light that we really saw the first time, now it's kept inside the building in the middle. It's telling you what hour of the day it is, also what about the weather, and you can see it all. You can see on the walls the abandoned years, the new circulation of Sala Beckett, everything is there.
Thank you, Ricardo, and thank you, Eva. I can't imagine, it would be hard put not to be completely moved by that presentation. And it was totally compelling. And as I said in the introduction, it was one of the most captivating and memorable exhibitions at the Biennale. And I think through this vignette, which is so personal and detailed and thorough in its explanation, I think we all experienced it vicariously. So thank you for that. I'd like to ask the audience if you have any questions, just briefly, after this presentation, if you'd like to direct them to Eva and Ricardo. And we can also retire later and ask them more personal questions, but are there any questions from the audience to begin with? Just here. The question was the roof made of asbestos, and did you need to replace it or repair it?
Yes, it was asbestos. So yeah, we replace it, and then we replace it with a sandwich. So we use it also the work to make it work better acoustically. So now we have some foam and 10 centimeters instead of just the asbestos. So we had this kind of astronauts, moving people that get all dressed up and take this, as it was super poison, but it has been there flying for 50 years.
So you encapsulated it?
Yes.
Okay. Question back there behind the camera?
Is that on? Yeah. I was wondering if you're using some smart sensors to see how people are engaging with the building now that it's done. So how is airflow, and it's theatre, so there's a high traffic component, and how are people moving around the building? Are you checking, like you've done a beautiful job on building the building and worrying about its light, but what about its actual atmosphere and the people who are using it?
Yes, well, we go there often to see theater plays, to have lunch, even to show the building to friends. So, and we are in contact with the director. So it's going well. They are very happy. Mainly they like the neighborhood a lot, because the neighborhood is a very committed neighborhood, and they have accepted the place very happily because they thought the building was falling down. So I think the building is working very well, and they have all this school at the backside, and they are producing new plays, and the plays are going well. So things are, and people that works in the theater feels very comfortable. And there's something that we like, that one of the directors, Sergi Belbel, the one who made this exercise of that we showed the display, plays all around the building. He said, no, it's a building that it's so continuous that you end up in a classroom that you were not supposed to get in. But it's okay in a way, because it's like, it means it welcomes you everywhere. And I think this is part of what the director wanted. So. And the director is happy. He's very happy how things are going, and the new place that they have right there, because there are always people in residence there. And it's the third year they are working in this building. And
So you're not measuring how they're engaging with it?
measuring how?
You don't measure how they engage with the building, you're just taking it from the director that they're having.
No, we
Yes,
go there.
we are not.
We go there, and it's full of. In fact, it's full of activities all the day, and all the spaces are full for months, and they have a lot of things to do, and there are new directors who want to come and do things there. And they constantly tell us, and we can see you go there, and it's full of things going everywhere, going on.
There have been other times that we had the need to go and interview or have how is it working, but you can tell in this building, and the director is there every day. But the time we go there, it's fully booked. Sometimes we have asked them if they have a room for us to give a talk there about Sala Beckett, and they are fully booked of activities. Mainly, but they rent it for things related to theater. So no, we haven't had this necessity because what we see and what we heard, it's working.
Just a quick question on that one. I mean, one of the things about performance in space and adaptive reuse is the liveness of the space in terms of acoustically and noise, and we talked about that the other night. But you did attenuation. I mean, what did you actually do to actually ensure that the sound and the noise was attenuated appropriately?
Well, we had acoustic advisors, so they explained that we had problems in the bar mainly. And they explained about a great material from Switzerland called bass foam, and we could apply it at the end. Also, it's a building done, it's a rehabilitation done with very little money. So even the acoustic conditioning of the bar came later with an extra money that we had when the main work was already done. So, and it works very well. It's something that you apply because it's deformable, so you apply it on it's flexible. You apply it on the small bolts that we have in the bar.
Because I think that's what's quite palpable, that you don't see any of those layers of intervention which are usually put in place, like acoustic panels, to kind of attenuate the sound. It just feels like it's all part of the
that was the most difficult thing, because the director in the first interview that was opening to the press, because they get money, they're publicly funded, so they have to make all these presentations of the project beforehand and all that. So he's saying, we were already in the team, no? We love the place, and the first thing I asked the architects, don't banish the ghosts of the former workers and that. And we were thinking, but how are we going to do that? Because the builder will come with a bulldozer and will destroy this in 5 minutes. And then you need the acoustic insulation. You need to structurally reinforce. There's a lot of pilots underground, etc. You have to reinforce a lot all this structure in the theater. So that was the most difficult thing to get. How would you do all that without even making notice that something happened? Many people go there and think, perfect, that was like this already, and everything was upside down. Everything was up in the air and fall down again in different places. And it happened many things, and seems like nothing happened.
Yeah, but this was the main concern, because we had such a little details from the old workers, so it can be destroyed by the tube of air conditioning, or all the poetry gone in a second. Yeah, this. Yeah.
I thought this was another question.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Just one question. Your numerous drawings appeared to have a hand-drawn quality. Were they hand-drawn?
Yes, yeah. Well, there are the plans that compare actual state and former state. There is computer, but then we draw. Some of the drawings are drawn, like the wall is drawn, like this axonometric of the wall is made afterwards. Once you understand what you have been doing, but sometimes it's very intuitive of things. And at the end, when you start explaining the project, you realize of this. This is done afterwards. But we mix like the big drawing of paving of ground floor and first floor. It's the construction drawing. So in our documentation, we mix computer and hand drawing. We scan them and we put the same stamp, and it goes. So, because we like to draw by hand.
As our students know.
You mentioned the importance of poetry in the building. How does that inspire you in terms of your design, poetry?
How it does inspire?
How does poetry, we talked about poetry and how does that inspire?
You go.
But the question,
Means is the work is poetic. Right.
and if it's influenced by any poet of writing or no?
yeah.
No.
Do you
Look,
mean
we
it's
explain-
do you mean the expression their architecture is poetic? Yes.
Look, we explain this way now, but in the middle of the construction site, you forget about that. You are like dealing with the builder who wants to run away as soon as possible because there's no money, the building is falling apart, the Sala Beckett wants it all the parts are there, as you know, and then you have to be very, and as Helen was pointing, all the supplies, all the installation, the mechanical things were the most hard to do with. So we were there the whole day during months, not the whole day, the whole morning from 8 a.m. until 2 that we had to run to the school. We were there with the builders and trying to guide them because otherwise they would do whatever. You know, this construction sites was very, very, very hard. But now he's playing with all the poetry. But it has no, you know, this is now that we have slept quite a few months that we can explain it this way.
But yeah, it was. But the building was linked emotionally to the neighborhood, so probably this makes the explanation be more emotive than in another building.
No, it was very moving for us to see the neighbors coming back in and recognize the pieces and see the things there. But they were a bit confused because they were seeing the things but they were not in the same place. And they were thinking that there was a memory failing because some people is quite old. and then we were with them. No, look, we moved this staircase because that now becomes something else. And they would embrace you, they would hug you, and they would cry. It's very popular neighborhood, and it's very direct, and that was one of the more rewarding things, because Sala Beckett is so happy, but then the neighborhoods as well. So in a way, that is a delicate equilibrium that you had to find with all these pieces together. But I think it was, we were really also lucky to have time to dedicate to that. We forgot about the office and we moved to the place. Even when it ended, the site, we stayed there in one of the rooms of the back part where the classrooms of the theater are. We didn't want to leave because we were there and we had the tables and we were drawing. And what do you need? No, I need a furniture for the pencils, and we would draw it. And so there were things coming, telling you things, and drawings coming out from this table. And we stayed more and more. And 1 month after that, they had this summer workshop that they make, which fills in the place with students internationally. So this email comes from the administrator, says, we need the room for next week, empty. Okay, no worries. So we took our triangulars, everything to the office, but we were really attached to the place. The community of theater is also very special. It's very energetic. They work a lot. They work as we do, which is something special to say. And they work over weekends all the time. And they are physically attached to the things. They are emotionally very, very transparent. So it really was a very nice story for us. Hard, very hard, but then we could bring it to the Biennale and explain it. So for us, it's a whole part of our practice, our life.
Also, a lot of the models were very helpful for them to look at them and see the sizes of things. They are used to work with scenography and they understand the drawings, but much better all the models. So we built a lot of models to help the dialogue, even with the engineer, to hide the huge pipes that he was proposing.
Okay, thank you. How many of Eva and Ricardo's students are here tonight? So now I think you have
to work.
Sorry, yeah, you go. But at least now you understand about learning by drawing and observing and making models to understand and create new places from what exists. So poetically described tonight. I've got one last thing to do, which is to actually give you some gifts. The first one I should have given you before you arrived.
Good, thank you.
But this one is the one we are going to launch tonight by two of my colleagues, Ainsley Murray and Jing Ran, who are here tonight. Please join me in thanking Eva and Ricardo for a compelling lecture tonight.
Thank you.